Hi everyone. Thank you for joining. We're just gonna wait to get started, give everyone a chance to join. All right, we see some people popping in. All right, we should get started then. So hi everyone, thank you for joining us for our second episode of Inspiration with Ines. Hello. This series is dedicated to inspiring conversations about wedding planning. And today we're super excited to have Susan Miller as our guest. Susan Miller is the author of Astrology Zone. She's written for thousands of international magazines and has authored over 11 books. Today, we're going to have her join us and talk about all things love, life, and relationships for 2021 for all 12 of the astrological signs. Let's tune in Susan Miller. Let's give her a chance to join. There she is.
Oh, here we are.
How are you? Good afternoon, Susan. How are you?
Oh, good. I've been doing research on the grand mutation. I'm always dealing with the planets. They're my little friends, and I talk to them.
I love that you say that the little planets of your friend are your friends.
Oh, they are. Even when they're bad, I love them.
Ines would say that all of her gowns are her children. So
I love your gowns. I love them.
Yeah.
I love them. They're so feminine. Oh my gosh. And as I was telling you, at the beginning of my career, I worked only for bridal magazines, first 4 years. That's where I proved, what I could do.
Yeah.
And I wrote long stories, but they liked
it. Right. We definitely want to know how you started your career as an astrologist. So did it begin with bridal magazines?
But if I put on Do Not Disturb, then I don't get you. So,
Right. So did your career start with bridal magazines? Is that how you started your career as an astrologist?
No. First of all, I never wanted the world to know I knew astrology. I wanted it to be my secret. And so I was born with a birth defect, and I wore a big brace, and they had to paralyze me during the operation to save my leg and me. And I have an internal bleeding situation that can get out of control. I've had 40 blood transfusions in my life, but back in the time when I was 14, only 8 after that operation. But you only have 8 in your body. That's about how many pints you have is 8. But I was in the hospital 11 months, and then I went home, and I had to do physical therapy for 2.5 years, 6 hours a day as an outpatient. And my mother came with me, of course, because I had crutches and a great big brace up to my hip. And I wanted to know if all this intensive work on my leg was going to come out to be good, whether I'd look like everybody else. And my mother would always read my chart, but she wouldn't teach me. And I wanted to read my own chart. And she said, no, this is not a parlor game. This is serious. So she wouldn't teach me. So for a year, I kept begging her. And she had books on the bookshelf. So I would take them, read them, and put it back. So I kept reading and reading and reading, but I still couldn't do charts. She told me it takes 12 magazine, and they published my letter. I said, will I ever walk again? And the answer was, we think you will. But when they answered me 7 months after I had written to them, I didn't understand some of the terms the editor-in-chief was using.
Right.
So my mother said, but you have your answer. And I just went like this. And she said, oh no, you want to check the editor-in-chief. I'm like, of course, yes.
Right.
She said, "You're never going to stop asking." I said, "No." And so she began teaching me. But the deal was, if I told one person I was studying it, it would stop. And I had to study for 12 years, and I would read family members. I have a sister, but I also, my father's family, he was one of 7 children, and they were always visiting my grandma upstairs in our brownstone, the Italian side of my family. And the other side is German, the math, you know. And I got good at it. And my mother finally told me I was ready. But I took 12 years before I charged for a chart. And I am accredited by the International Society of Astrologic Research. The problem now is astrology is very popular, but a lot of the advice isn't correct.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have my mother anymore, but I hear her voice. It's like, that's not right, you know. So I'm glad I called her Alexa Hente. You know, she was like very, you know, meticulous. But I loved her so much. We would laugh together, and I looked just like her, only she had blue eyes, and I have hazily brown eyes, hazel green with green around the edge. So, and I have darker hair. She had chestnut hair, but in black and white, we were identical twins.
So we love how your career got started. I think there's so many followers that have sent in questions. There's so many questions.
I love questions. Let's do questions.
So we want you to take us through the love focus for the year for each of the signs for 2021.
Well, the luckiest person right now is Libra. I mean, they have Jupiter, the giver of gifts and luck, in their house of true love, new love. But also the Leos have Jupiter in the house of marriage, and Saturn is there. And some people who have heard about Saturn are like, wait, is that good? Yes, because Saturn gives you the focus and the determination and the commitment. And that's what you want, unless both parties are committed to work just as hard to make each other happy, it won't work. You know, each person has to live up to their responsibilities. And also the Aquarians are in a very good spot because every 12 years, Jupiter conjoins the sun. Right. And that's this year for them. I call it their emerald year. And if, let's say you're single, let's say you tuned in, you're not getting married, but you want to get married. This is the year that when you meet someone, that's the one. Even in the beginning, if you think, I'm not so sure, you don't know what clicks with you. You don't know.
Right.
You know,
yeah, that's so funny.
You know, and the qualities you look for in your 20s or early 30s are different after you have little birds in the nest. If you would have said, I have a guy for you who's responsible, a good provider, good sense of humor, I would have thought, well, maybe he's a little boring. No, I would want to see that person immediately. Because when you have children, both parties have to be helpful because they're little chicks in the nest and you want to make their life great. You know, I have 2 children. It's the light of my life. I'm just so happy I have them. And they surprise me all the time. And they're big now. They're out of college. And I paid their student loans. I got them through college and made sure they had no debt. It took me 7 years to keep paying the student loans, but I did it. And, you know, we have a great family. So I want everybody else to have one. But
so let's take us through the rest of the forecast.
Well, Aries is making friends big time and followers on their social media. And my older daughter, Chrissy, said, Mommy, if my girlfriends want to meet boyfriends, they have to make more girlfriends because the girlfriends make the introductions. And I thought, that's genius. And that's what's happening to Aries this year. They had a great career year last year. So this year they can pull back a little bit and have a little fun. Taurus is going to have 6 planets in Aquarius in their house of honors, awards, achievement, fame. They start gathering already at the end of this month in January. And in February, it's going full force. Now, Mercury is retrograde next month. So that means someone from her past calls up and says, you know, we worked well together. I have another assignment for you. Let's get started. And this is a huge career year for Taurus. But that means she'll make some good money and she'll be able to afford everything she wants for her wedding. And of course, her parents will help her too. But, you know, let's see. I have a list here. Now, Mars will be in Taurus right now until March 3rd. The problem is Uranus is next to Mars, and he's a bit explosive. You've been seeing on television what's going on, and they reach an epic point on January 20th. So Taurus, somebody might be bothering you and at work, kind of annoying, and you're ready to let them know, don't count to 10, especially on the 20th. It's a very hot day. I keep tweeting that I want the authorities to put the ceremony inside, not outside.
So January.
But anyway, Gemini had a big money year in 2020. And I know everybody says nobody made money last year. Ask the Geminis. They did really well. Yeah. And they often write or edit for a living, so they could work at home. You know, there isn't a Gemini on the planet who doesn't have good writing skills or editing skills. And they love digital. So I want them to go more toward the new digital age, podcasts, apps, new website design, you know, whatever they can do, and new things that we don't even know about yet.
Right.
And then we have Cancer. Cancer has had a hard time. They were waffling too about the person they were dating. Is this the person? Is this not the person? They may have been listening to too many friends at some point. I'm just saying, wait, I need to think, you know, but this year is so much better. Oh my gosh, the pressure comes off. It could have been that their partner was under a strain. You know, he may have lost his job and had to look for a new job, or, you know, or she, you know, we have all types of marriages now, but you were there to support your partner and you had to give more, Cancer. You know, sometimes you do have to give more. Sometimes the other person gives more if you're having a hard time. That's what marriage is. It's the good part of marriage. And you always have that person. I'm getting goosebumps. That's the part of marriage that's lovely. You always have that person there. And Cancer cares about home and family. And they nurture so well. And their intuition is incredibly good. This year they're going to make big money in commission, royalty, bonus. Not in their regular paycheck, but coming from the outside in. And it could be also a loan if they're looking for a mortgage, or a bank loan to do a home improvement loan, or get a new car, you know, loan. Whatever it is, they're magic. The bank opens the door for them and says, whatever you want, you know. And it's like, wow, you weren't that way last year. But, well, everything changed. Now, Leo, as I said, is learning about what marriage is all about. Some of them are already married. We may have some friends joining us who are already married, and they're getting to a deeper level. And they may say, well, we're not always agreeing on everything. Of course not. When you find that there are things that you have to talk about and fix, that means you're getting to a deeper level of love. It's not a bad sign. It's a good sign. So you have to talk more. And now I did hear of some Leos who broke up right after Christmas or New Year's, which is heartbreaking. But you have to have faith in the universe. When you lose something, often the universe doesn't like a vacuum, will bring you something better. You know, on Astrology Zone, my website, I write a note from Susan Miller, and all the readers were praying for my eyes. I was going through hopefully 3 operations, and the third one was going to be the big one that was going to help me see distance. And my doctor put the brakes on it. And I wrote a philosophical piece that sometimes when we pray for the wrong thing. But the prayers are answered because my doctor said, Susan, you're not looking far down the road and what could happen to you, because I have a genetic problem with my eyes. You could get to a point where you never see your children and never be able to read. If you go for the distance, you have to stay where you are. And I realized he was right. When someone tells you you can't see the faces of your children or your mother or your best friend, I mean, that stops you in your tracks.
Right.
And sometimes we pray for the wrong thing, but if we pray, we get the right answer. So if you broke up, this is a whole new year, new aspects. You're probably going to meet someone very stable, Leo. So you shouldn't lose hope, just the opposite. You should be excited because there was something wrong with that other relationship. And you don't want someone who's so quixotic that they're going to, leave at a drop of a hat. No, you're worth more. You're the prize. Stop and think. You are the prize. Now, Virgo had a wonderful love year last year, and anyone they met last year was very, very special, and they should stay with that person. This year, there's lots of work projects, and let's say they lost their job, because so many people did in the pandemic. They could even start their own business because so many people will be coming to them for help. And like, could you just do this for me before you get a job? And their phone keeps ringing. The house where work projects come in is loaded with planets. So you'll have to organize it all, but who better than a Virgo to do that? And I think last year you did meet someone. If you didn't, there's more opportunities this year. Actually, tomorrow's new moon is fabulous for Virgos meeting someone new. So if you're Virgo, you don't have someone and you said, what is she talking about last year? I stayed in the house and I avoided the pandemic. Okay, me too. but you ask your friends first, because I think that's the nicest way to meet someone. But I have heard of people who were forced to work with new people in their company and love developed. See, love keeps developing. Cupid and his little fleet of angels is always overhead. The universe wants you to find love. Just remember that. It's not going to block you as long as you have realistic expectations. Now, Libra, I said you were the luckiest in finding new love or just having fun this year. It's also the year to have a baby. Now, that's my number one question. I feel women wait a little too long to try. They all say, well, I have to go through school and I have to start my practice. Life isn't that way. Sometimes you have to do two things at once. And if you're that organized and you're able to pass the bar or your college exams, you're able to do two things at once. And I went too long into IVF $5,000 each time. So you don't want to wait too long. You want to, I had my children very early because of my leg, because they were afraid I'd bleed to death having children. And I had to fight them. I had to write my will and find a doctor that was so famous they couldn't have, said, well, I mean, they knew his name and they wouldn't say, no, you can't have the baby if he said I could. He said, I'll work with you, but this is the last one. You have one, you're going to have another one, but that's it. And I had to have my children early because I felt any excuse that they would use, like, oh, you're already 35 or whatever it is, they would say no. So I had them in my 20s. But try to have them earlier than you think you need to because there's so much joy. I love babies. But if you want them, now people can live very nicely without children. If you're one who doesn't want any, I respect that totally. And you can have a lot of fun with your partner and have a great life, and you can travel. And guess what? We're going to travel again. Not right away.
Right.
Maybe not until the end of the year, but we will. We'll get back to traveling. Scorpio is so lucky. They're going to find a dream house or apartment or condo. Maybe they start with a rental apartment first and then then, trade up. But this year it will be sunny with a view and very spacious with big closets. And when one of my daughters was looking for an apartment after college, she looked at this cramped place and she was going to share it with 3 other girls. And I'm like, you're going to be at each other's throats in this. It was a new building, but it was awfully small. I said, no, you have Jupiter in the 4th house, like Scorpio has now. You shouldn't settle.
Right.
She says, Mommy, astrology doesn't work in Manhattan. No, it does. It does. And she said, but it has to be the East Village. I said, okay. The universe will give you what you want. 2 months later, around the corner and 2 blocks up, she got a duplex with an elevator. And and each girl had a spacious room, her own room, no sharing, and they had a living room and a kitchen. And she said, it really worked. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
You get that beautiful place. If you have a place is a little easier, don't you think? If you don't have to share a small closet, it just gets easier. Sagittarius, it's all about communication. You may be starting something with a book or a podcast or an app, and you're all excited about it and coming home and telling your partner about all the new stages. I build apps. I have a beautiful app on the Apple App Store and Google Play. You just put in Susan Miller and Daily Horoscopes, Astrology Zone comes up. And it's so much fun to create products. And this is a year for Sag to do that. This is a sign that's very well read. They tend to marry someone they can talk to. They like to admire the mind of the other person. And they're the people that you can ask the meaning of life in a beautiful old cafe with a tin ceiling and a cappuccino and some biscotti and talk all night. Because the Sag is just wonderful.
Ines is a Sagittarian, and you've totally described her to a T. So we have 2 questions.
And they love to travel, so you're going to have an exciting life if you're marrying a Sag, because they love distant travel, not short little trips, And then we only have 3 signs to go. Capricorn, I wrote in December, I was giving the whole forecast. And if you go on my website, astrologyzone.com, on the bottom of your forecast, and I have like 8 pages for everybody. I write a lot. It says view previous month. So you can see what I wrote for Capricorn. I had to tell them they would make money. But that's so boring saying you're going to make money. I had to do it in a visual way. So I go online and I'm looking at the qualities of Jupiter and Saturn, which are both in their earned income house. And I see an article by the BBC. And it says, it's raining diamonds on Jupiter and Saturn. I'm like, whoa. So I go in and they said, well, it was written in 2012. How I didn't see this, I must have been living under a rock. It said, the scientists always assumed the atmosphere of Jupiter and Saturn wasn't really good for creating carbon, which is how diamonds are made. But now we know that was wrong, and it is raining diamonds. Now I had a little aside. Okay, it's true. Cartier and Tiffany are not on Jupiter and Saturn yet. They don't have any stores there, so they're not cutting them. But let's not worry about that. Let's use a little poetic license. What I want you to hold in your mind is it's raining diamonds in your earned income house. And that means you have to ask for that raise, okay? Especially in February. I would love you to ask in February or August. If you say, well, I just got one, let's wait a little. August is a good time too. And on my calendar, I have a calendar that I make myself. I publish it myself. I can't really put it on Amazon because they want me to raise the price and it's already $27. But so I won't. But I have on all the important days, I have what's happening, and you can plan the date of your interview by the day. She's in the Hamptons. I hired a very famous artist. Here's Cancer. She's lovely. And here is Va 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 Voom, Leo. So, so it's right on the front page of my website on Astrology Zone. It just came out, so I'm all excited. But I use it. I made it for myself. Other people might want this, you know. And I also have key dates on my app. So if you're downtown and I don't have my calendar with me, it's also on the app. Everything works together. But anyway,
did we cover everyone's sign? We're getting some messages. I don't know.
Yeah. No, this is how the planets are getting along with each other and how to pick a good day. And you go back to Astrology Zone and read what I wrote for that day. You know, on a Mac, you can do a command find to January 15th and it'll come right up. So you can find it easily. And also I do a daily horoscope too on the app. So you can see tomorrow's the new moon. So new moons are new beginnings and full moons are crystallizations when things end. And if you've been waiting, did I get that job? Did I get that job? By the full moon, you find out because it gives you closure. Now there's two more signs. Aquarius is having their emerald year. I mean, oh my God, you know. And they're bewildered because they're used to being the little black sheep standing outside the circle. Actually, they like that. They don't like it when everybody's like them. They like being a little unique and different. But this year, every time they recommend something, people are saying, that's a good idea. We should do that. Like, just like that. You're not going to say you have to think about it or no, let's do it. And they're so used to people saying we have to think about it. But this year, Aquarius, if you're listening, get all your plans out there in 2021. Now there's a period you're going to make a lot of money. And that's from the middle of May to the end of July. That's when you're going to put your big deals together. Just remember that. Middle of May, end of July. So it's a happy year. And Pisces, it starts out quietly. It's meditative.
Right.
You know, they say a lot of people have been suffering from depression or anxiety. I'm not, but I know a lot of people who are. And look, if you lost your job or you can't pay your rent, how could you not be anxious? So now you can see a therapist on the phone. You don't have to drive over there. You can. I know a lot of people who never would have seen a therapist and are now doing it and getting a lot of benefits because you want to get ready for your big year 2022. But already this year, that period I talked about, May 13th to July 28th, is phenomenal for Pisces, especially the February Pisces. But all the Pisces are going to have an incredible year in 2022. So that may be when you want to get married. If you're, let's say you're a March born Pisces, you might want to do it in 2022 because Jupiter leaves Aquarius on December 30th, I believe, this year. So you have the whole year. You have a little piece when Jupiter goes into Aries, but that's when you get more money. So it's all good. It's all good. A year this good is rare, really rare. It comes every 12 years, so you want to use it.
That's really good news.
So that's all 12 signs, you know.
We got so many questions from our followers.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
We don't have that much time, but is 2021 a lucky year for an Aries woman to get proposed by an Aquarius man?
Oh, well, first of all, fire and air. Her boyfriend is air and makes her fire burn more brightly. I love their combination. And yes, because all the planets are moving into her house of hopes and wishes, her greatest dreams. There is a place in the chart where something you've long wanted. When I had my second child, Jupiter was in that house because they kept saying, you'll never have another baby. And I'm like, yes, I will. They did cesarean. But when you have Jupiter in that house, dreams come true. So I'm going to say yes. And I hope she gets back to us and let us know what happens.
We would love to hear back. Will Cancers have a solid chance at love in 2021?
Well, finally, a much better chance than you had last year. You were feeling, if you were dating someone, you weren't quite sure. Yes, no. It was almost like the person with the daisy. I love you not. They were vacillating because there were ups and downs in the relationship and some pressure, but not anymore. The difficult planets have moved off. Now we do have Pluto there. So the people born around the 18th, 19th, 20th are still feeling Pluto, and they will for a little while. But by now they're used to it. And it could be a business partner causing this, not a romantic partner. Because in astrology, when you sign a contract, it's marriage or business partner where you're both serious and you're going to help each other. So in astrology, I can never tell which one it is. That's why I cover both. So
Okay.
yes, I am going to say it's a better road ahead for the little Cancers. And I'll tell you, end of May, June, and July, when Jupiter's in Pisces, they could meet someone. And I wonder if we're able to fly, go away near your birthday.
Oh, I like that. So one
Go away
last
near
question.
your birthday. And sometimes you can go to a nearby place. Like I'm in New York. Some people go to Florida, and it's beautiful
Right.
down there. Take a little trip. But we have to see what Dr. Fauci says. We follow Dr. Fauci. We're careful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
My daughter
So
did
one
not come
last
home
question.
for Christmas or New Year's. So she's in LA, and the other one's here. So, no, we follow. We're really good
Yes,
about that. Yeah.
absolutely. So last question, Susan Miller, all the way from Greece. What signs are most likely to be sending out pregnancy announcements in 2021? If you had to pick one.
Definitely Libra.
Okay.
Let's see. I have to look at my list here. It looks good for Gemini too. Of course, Aquarius. I mean, they have the horn of plenty. They have anything they want. But you know what? You have to look at your rising sign too. Now, maybe people say, what's that? I keep hearing that term. You have to do your chart by your time of birth. Your mom may know what time you were born. It may be in your baby book, but it's probably on your birth certificate. I know in America they require it, but not everybody's in America listening. But find out from your mother what time you're born, then have a chart made, and maybe have one meeting with an astrologer. It's nicer if it's in your hometown where you could sit together and laugh and look at it. That's when you can see when you have opportunity. And sometimes it's outside the realm of a classic aspect. It's something else. So it gives us all hope that there's never a bad time. I want to tell you two little statistics before we go. First, if you're looking for a perfect wedding day, look within 6 weeks of your birthday. If you don't have any idea where to start. Because in astrology, that's the sun coming back to where it was at your birth, which is very lucky. Now, my daughter found something in a book. She said, hey, I read that you usually marry the sign of your mother or father. I said, Christy, I don't think that's true. It's like, Mommy, you married Daddy. He's Scorpio. Grandpa, Scorpio. Great-grandmother is Scorpio. What do you mean you didn't do that? I'm like, totally unconscious. But and look at Princess Kate. Her father is born one day different from Prince William. I knew they were going to get married because you're seeing something echo from your parent in that person. And both William and Harry both have strong Cancer in the chart. And Diana was Cancer.
Right.
So they were looking for that echo of Diana in their mates, and they both got it because Meghan Markle has Cancer rising, and Kate is a Capricorn, but that's perfect for tradition and ribbon cutting and holding up tradition, and I think she has a good Venus. I'm trying to remember her chart, but I do remember it could be her moon. It could be a moon in Cancer. Oh yeah, that's it.
Right.
And they both had it. So that's a good sign,
That's a really good sign. So, Susan Miller, I have to say, we are so excited to have you here to talk to
I'm
our
thrilled to meet the two of you. You're so creative.
It
I
was
could look
so
at those dresses
exciting.
forever.
Yeah.
They're princess dresses. Oh.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I think all of our followers had a lot of questions. We hope to be able to answer a few of them in our stories coming up. But thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, you and I talked a lot.
Yeah.
And if they're really disappointed, they can try asking me on Twitter or on Instagram at Astrology Zone. I like
Perfect.
Twitter the best because it's easier for me, but my assistant helps me with Instagram. She takes what I write on Twitter and puts it over there, whichever is your favorite. I do go on Facebook, but it's easier the other two. So if you didn't get your question answered, we'll help you out.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Okay,
Thank you. Have a wonderful 2021. And thank you.
You too. Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.